Sean.
How you doing?
What's going on, Sean? What's your take?
Why was Nathan Wade at the White House while they're gathering information on the case? Conflict of interest.
So he was at the White House talking to the White House counsel about things related to that.
Why would he be talking about that's as a political opponent is currently residing there?
Because Donald Trump was in the office of the presidency when he committed the act. So yeah, it would stand to reason that they would go to the White House. And this logic doesn't make any sense. What do you think he's gonna like conspire with the White House and then be like, oh yeah, actually, we're gonna write that down on the book so that everybody knows we went to the White House? No, they spoke with for over 2 days the White House staff or the White House general counsel to get information, and then that was
so say the roles were reversed. Trump was the president, and Joe Biden had some cases. He's about to run against Trump. And the prosecutors coming to the Trump White House, would that not be a problem?
I find it ironic that you guys say nothing when he fired James Comey for investigating him, but go off.
Would I find it unusual
the Jeannie Carroll case should scare every man in America?
Just ignore that point, right?
No, it shouldn't. If you're not a violent essayer, you shouldn't have anything to worry about.
Hold on. All she didn't know the date.
I don't care.
I like how you didn't acknowledge my point.
Hold on.
I don't care.
No evidence. What do you mean?
I don't care.
I don't care. Can persecute any man in America.
So a court of law? No, it doesn't. Just Grapus.
That was all hearsay. She had no evidence at all.
He lost.
And then they changed.
He lost in a court of law. Cope. And this has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. He lost in a court of law.
Yo, these are some of these 91 charges. He absolutely lost.
If he didn't do it, why did he lose in a court of law?
You know why he lost the court case. Come
because
on, man. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to talk about this with you. We were talking about the other thing.
Comey. He said something about Comey. James Comey.
What?
Yeah. You said so. Comey. Yes. If Donald Trump was in the same instance where there was something that happened while he was in the whatever, and he needed to talk to the general counsel, yeah, I wouldn't expect that to be unusual. That would never get mentioned. Him firing James Comey, yeah, that'll get mentioned. Yeah. 100%.
It's some wild. I mean, it's just crazy.
You
have a guy that attempted to
yeah. I'd have to rephrase. Tell me the James again. That was like 3 years ago.
He was investigating the Donald Trump campaign's interference and collusion with Russia at the time of the 2016 election. Trump fired him from that investigation, thus opening up the special counsel from Robert Mueller.
And it all turned out to be a whole bunch of...
Doesn't matter. Him still firing him presents a conflict of interest.
He would have been found guilty if he didn't fire him.
There's already been evidence that was already brought up before he came into the nomination. That was a waste of taxpayers' money.
No, James Comey was fired by Donald Trump because he was being investigated.
On some bullshit.
Yeah, but it's wild to me. Like, you think that somebody meeting with the White House to gain information is way worse than a guy firing the person that's investigating him. That's wild. That's some next level gymnastics that only a Trump supporter could do.
Did it turn out to be true or not?
We talked about the term cognitive dissonance earlier.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
No, it did not. There was no Russian collusion at all.
Yeah, there was.
No, what was the collusion? What got colluded?
Paul Manafort admitted that they shared information with known Russian assets.
No.
John Durham, the Durham report, admitted that the Trump kids met with Russian officials at Trump Tower to try and get them to help them win the election.
No,
this is in congressional record.
No, absolutely
yes, it is.
Not. No, sir.
Yeah, it is. I'll pull it up for you right now. Hold on.
No, they weren't expecting Trump to win.
Down, man.
He did. All this started. Nothing got somehow.
Right here, this is part of it. He was being questioned by Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff gets John Durham to admit Russia helped Trump.
Come on now, Adam Schiff's your reliable source. Come on.
Read what's in the cable and what's in the report is that what the diplomats reported was there was a suggestion that the Russians could help. Damaging information as to Mrs. Clinton.
I'm
going to meet you.
Thanks.
By releasing it anonymously, right? And that's exactly what happened, isn't it?
I don't.
You really don't know?
I'm not sure exactly. When you say exactly what happened.
Well, the Russians released stolen emails through cutouts, did they not?
There were emails.
It's a very simple question. Did they release information, stolen information through cutouts, yes or no?
Yeah, I'm not sure that...
You really don't know the answer to that? The answer is yes, they did. Through D.C. leagues.
Well, in your mind, it's yes.
Well, Mueller's answer was yes. More important than mine, Mueller's answer was yes. Now, that information, of course, was helpful to the Trump campaign, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, but that the Russians intruded into,
I just want to
hacked into the systems, they released information.
And that was helpful to the Trump campaign, right?
And the conclusion in the ICA and in the Mueller investigation was that the Russians intended to assist.
Can you answer my question, Mr. Durham? That was helpful to the Trump campaign, right?
Yeah, that's.
And Trump made use of that, as I said, didn't he, by touting those stolen documents on the campaign trail over 100 times?
Like I said, I don't really read the newspapers or listen to the news. I don't really.
So the answer to that is yes. Did Donald Trump get away with it? Also yes. But did he work with Russians? Absolutely. John Bolton even said he asked Xi Jinping if he would help him get reelected. You can go watch that full interaction, though, and Durham admits that Trump kids met with Russian officials. Paul Manafort admitted they shared polling data with the Russians.
If that was a fact, they'd be prosecuting him for that right now too.
No, because it's an ethical violation. Collusion is not a criminal violation. Collusion is an ethical violation.
If he colluded with Russia to steal the election, that's treason.
So it's not. He colluded with Russia because it's not a crime. It's an ethical issue. It should be a crime, but it's not.
And the Jeannie Carroll case, like I said, that should scare every man in America.
Dude, he lost in court. Cope. We're talking about the criminal indictments against him. Okay? Do you know the documents case at all?
That was one of the criminal indictments.
No, it wasn't.
Oh yeah, no, it was a lie. They sued him because they couldn't prove it in court.
They didn't sue him over Russian collusion.
No, the Jeannie Carroll case.
Talking about Eugene Carroll.
Eugene.
Listen, he lost in court. Cope. Do you know the documents case at all?
Which documents case are you talking about?
Keeping documents at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That he declared.
He didn't.
They were declared.
No, they weren't. He's on audio admitting that they weren't.
No, he was on audio telling somebody about him. And that was the problem.
That is also illegal.
Yep, he showed it. He showed the document off to people. And he said it wasn't declassified, and that he couldn't declassify it anymore because he's not president.
As president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
He had declassified it, and because they knew what was in the documents, they had. Who knows what he had because they ain't said. But they was trying to say it was criminal evidence.
He said
evidence of what they were trying to plan a war on him against. They were going to start a war in Iran and said it was his fault. Is what he said to the lady.
No, that's not what the talk was about.
That's what the recording is of.
It was about a book.
No, it wasn't. Donald Trump asked Milley to draw up a plan of attack in case Iran attacked, and that was the plan. It does not matter what it was about, just that it was classified. Donald Trump had a classified document that he showed off to people. He said, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is still a secret. He said it was highly secret, which is two distinct crimes.
That they were going to know. Listen to the whole recording. Listen to the whole recording. The reason why he took the document.
Have you heard it?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, okay. I know exactly what
does he say.
So it doesn't matter why he showed it off. That doesn't matter. He didn't show it off.
He said he never showed it. He said what he had. And
yes, he did have it. Yes, he did show it.
He
and
said
the people
that
he showed it to are testifying against it.
He said it.
I know you believe whatever he says, and he told you this, and you believe Daddy Trump. The people that he showed that to are testifying against him.
Right, Liz Harrington, Margot Martin. These are people who work for him.
He had documents that he knew he had that he knew he couldn't have.
Documents
and he retained them for a year and a half.
Proving that they were trying to prove that he was starting a war with Iran, and that's why he took it.
Okay, but they were still
that's not what the documents had to do with. They weren't declassified either way. They weren't declassified either way. And the other documents he had,
and reclassified them.
No, you're just guessing. They just say whatever, right? It's just wild to me. Hold on a second, bro. It's just wild to me how when you guys hit a roadblock, instead of being like, actually, you guys just literally like, hold on, wait, look, squirrel, and you just come up with whatever fits your narrative.
Absolutely.
So can you? Awesome,
where's
cool.
the evidence that
I will prove it to you. Yes. Where is the evidence that it was reclassified? If that is the case, where is the evidence that it was reclassified?
Look it up.
You're not going to have it.
Look it up. What you mean?
There we go. You're not going to have it. I told you. I called it immediately. You're not going to have it. And also you're going to say, well, they haven't shown us it yet or something to that degree. Or we don't know. We haven't seen it. And then so you just made a lie. Yeah. They won't let us see it. You'll see something like that. So can you show us where they reclassified it? Where did you get that tidbit of information?
He's going to be looking for a while.
Yeah. It's funny because Donald Trump is not claiming it was reclassified. Maybe something he doesn't?
Trump's not talking about it at all. But hold on.
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is.
No.
Yes, he did. He talked about it on Fox News during the town hall with Laura Ingraham. He said
when you take
the only thing that he said, the argument that he is using was that he had a skiff, which is not true because there's pictures of where they were recovered, and the skiff was dismantled. And he said, "Oh, there's a skiff." And the other thing that he said was, "Oh, I had the right to still see them. I still had classification in NARA," which he does not. And it explicitly states that in the act that he does not have that classification after he leaves president. He doesn't have to hold on to that security clearance. And so, yeah, that's just the argument. But he's not making the argument it was reclassified. He's making the argument he had the ability to see it, which the law does not state that he does.
So hold on. So what's the point if you've seen it once? What does it matter if you see it again, though? What difference does that make? Explain that to me.
It's not about him seeing them. It's about the retention, because he could have, if he's still, I don't know, I think his security clearance was revoked, but most vice presidents and presidents have the ability to go back to the National Archives and look at stuff. It's not that he saw it or that he knew it that's the problem. It's that he divulged specific information within it and that he retained the documents that he was not supposed to have.
And the documents, and what he said he retained them for is because he said they were trying to make it look like he was going to start a war with Iran.
He had over 100 documents, and no, that's not what the conversation had to do with.
That's what
Donald Trump had a plan of attack that was written up by Miley that Donald Trump asked him to write up. Donald Trump is claiming, well, they said this is Milley's plan, and he showed off the plan that he asked Milley to draw up. So Donald Trump's lying, but it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's a classified document. If Donald Trump wanted to, he could have came out publicly because he has a huge platform and said, no, this is a lie. And I'll tell you exactly what happened. But he didn't. He showed it off to a journalist. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
showed
at all.
how they were trying to stage him for a coup.
No, they don't.
Absolutely.
No,
and
that's not what it does.
2019 and prior.
All right, let's go to another thing because we're not going to argue.
Okay.
On this point.
Yeah, okay.
Next.
He just gave up on it.
Right.
I kind of want to make some
No,
food.
because I'm bringing up points. You're not going to listen on that. Let's next subject on the.
I know you're not going to listen to the fact that he retained.
No, it's
listen,
not a
was the
fact.
document?
It's not a
Listen, let me
fact.
ask you.
It's
This is
not a
all
fact.
This is all it asks. Listen. This is all it asks. Okay, the document, was it classified?
Yeah, absolutely. Biden reclassified it.
Okay, awesome. He had a document that he did still not have the security clearance to have. Is that correct?
I mean, if they revoked his security clearance, I guess that would be correct. But wouldn't that be politically
Awesome.
motivated? But hold on.
Cool.
He's a former president.
No, not politically motivated.
Why is the security pass?
It happens to all presidents. So, but I'm asking you this question. So he didn't have the ability to maintain, to have these documents. Because you can't take documents, right? After you're president, you don't have the ability to hold on to documents.
Don't say that now. Come on now. Biden had his documents too.
Here we go.
Let's just be fair. Let's be fair.
I don't care. We're not talking about Biden, and I'm not going to address it. We're talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump had documents.
He's our current president. What do you mean?
I don't care. I'm not talking about it. We're not going to.
Right. So he has the right to declassify, right?
So hold on. He wasn't president at the time. He's been sitting in his office for years. What do you mean? He wasn't president when he got
listen.
Wait. So he wasn't
man.
president? Almost
No,
like
he's
Donald
not even.
Trump.
He was vice president.
Stop.
They have the right to
for a
have those.
second. Listen, Sean, I'm getting to the crux of it. He had a document that he was not supposed to have, correct?
By lawmakers that made it that way, yes.
Awesome. And for whatever reason, he decided to retain them. Maybe he thought he was wrong. Maybe he just wanted to hold on to them because they were trophies or whatever. But he made the conscientious decision. Hold on a second.
He started a war with Iran. He had proof that he did it. That's
okay, listen. He conscientiously, though, he held on to those documents. He was holding on to those documents.
Because he knew they were going to come after him, and he wanted proof to prove.
So that's a yes. It's just a yes. It's just a yes, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. Congratulations. You have fulfilled all of the elements of the crime.
No.
Mens rea and actus rea.
We'll see. Let man have his day in court, and you're proving.
You just told me yes to all of those things. The documents were classified, which is part of 1924.
I don't think they were. They weren't classified.
He admitted. He said that they were classified.
No,
he said they were classified. You admitted that they were classified.
You're taking snippets of.
All right, man. You're muted now because you're very clearly derailing. You admitted that he had classified documents, that he took them, and that he intended to retain them. That's all three elements of the crime.
So let me ask you this. Do you think he really get a fair shot at a trial in America? Joe Biden, let's say Joe Biden goes on trial. Do you think he would get a fair trial?
Listen, Joe Biden's not going on trial because he didn't commit
I'm just
crimes.
saying.
You see that?
I'm just saying. Do you think anybody in a political position like that could get a fair trial in America?
Yes, if Joe Biden did the exact same thing,
sure.
he'd be up for the same charges.
How?
And you know what? I wouldn't be defending him on it.
What do you mean? You just said it didn't matter what Joe Biden did. You just defended Biden.
If Joe
for doing the
Biden
same
called
thing.
the Secretary of State in Georgia and did the exact same thing in Georgia, I would not support him.
If he
And then,
retained
the
thousands
election-
of documents, hold on. If he knowingly retained thousands of documents and divulged that information purposefully, then yeah.
If he was
Yeah, I
found
would
liable
absolutely
of
force
essaying a
prosecution.
woman and then defaming her, I would not support him.
Yeah, it's easy. There's so many things that Donald Trump has done that would disqualify you from hiring them or you from even being friends with that person, and you guys will want him as the president.
Oh my God! When we talk about ethical and moral backgrounds, neither party is real great in either one of them departments. We're being
Yeah,
honest.
sure, but Donald Trump isn't even in the same ballpark as just humanity. So
You can manipulate. I don't know.
you have a guy that is going to face 91 criminal charges, and to be honest with you, he's probably going to be convicted on all of them, barring a miracle.
No, the George is done. Done.
No,
It's
no,
not.
it's not. You guys keep doing with hope chess.
By a new DA. It'll get
I'm sure
re-prosecuted
you
by
think
a
of
new
it.
You guys said the business case would be done. You guys said they were going to drop 80% of the charges. Remember that?
The appeal's going to go. He's going to win New York. I guarantee. I put
not.
money.
No, he's not.
I'll bet,
How
I'll
did
bet-
his
I'll bet
appeal
money
go
on
with
it.
E. Jean Carroll?
He ain't gonna pay her either. He didn't.
He has to.
He already did. He already
That
did.
should
He
scare
has
every
until
man in
tomorrow.
America.
He has until tomorrow to pay her. No, it doesn't. It doesn't
It ain't
scare
gonna
me because
happen.
I've never essayed someone. See how that works? You don't
No,
essay
yeah,
people,
I mean,
you don't get sued.
Hold on. There was
pretty
just
easy
no
to not
burden
do,
of
you know?
proof that he essayed. They're taking her word for it.
There is. They met the burden of proof. They met the burden of proof established in civil trial.
Why? Okay, if he essayed somebody, why didn't he get convicted criminally? Why is he not in jail? That's
Because it's a civil case.
Because
No, it's not a
it's a
civil
civil
case. They didn't
case.
have
It
enough.
is. It
They
is.
didn't
Due to
have
the
enough to
statute
try
of
it
limitations,
civically, and they
it
knew they
became
could
a
fuck
civil
him on the
case.
libel shit.
It's called a statute
No.
of limitations, which brings it to
And
the
what
civil
did they? And
courts.
how did they get that go? And how did they get that? They passed a law to extend the year so she could even file.
so everybody in New York could file.
No, not everybody.
Yes, over 30,000 cases have happened since this.
No, that was politically done for one thing. And like,
Then why
I'm
have
sure.
30,000
Do you see? Do you see this? Do you see the level of the grotesque
No,
level
I'm
of
saying, since this Me Too
self-victimization?
movement has started,
Right.
how many
The
men have been
absolutely
wrongfully-
the like perpetual not very many men, so it doesn't surprise me that she didn't try and like press charges on a billionaire as she worked the department store. But it's wild. The galactic level of self-victimization is absolutely crazy. That Donald Trump, they came after him, they wrote this just for him. Don't essay someone. And that kind of wild. Sean, I have a question for you. I just have one question, Sean. I just have one question, okay?
Go ahead.
Just one question about the E. Jean Carroll case. Why did Donald Trump fight so hard to turn his DNA over?
That's something that, as a felon, you get the state holds your database until you've been really convicted of a crime. You shouldn't have. And she had no DNA to prove that.
Yes, there was DNA. I'm asking you, why did he refuse to turn it over for 3 years? He fought her about turning it over for 3 years.
They had the DNA evidence. Why would he found guilty on that? He wasn't.
Because he refused
you
to turn
answering?
it over for 3 years. Why, if Donald Trump is innocent and they have the DNA of the accused, of the person that did it, on her dress, why did he not agree?
There was no DNA evidence. There was hearsay and a picture of her and him together, and that's it.
Listen,
that's
buddy,
fact.
I'm going to try one more time. There was DNA found on the dress. Donald Trump refused to turn over DNA to be tested against that DNA for 3 years. He fought it in court.
Did they get his
Why?
DNA?
He refused
No,
to give
because
it.
he fought it.
Do they got it now?
No.
No, because he fought it.
And then after the
If
point
you
in which he
didn't
was
do
able
it-
to submit that to the court, he couldn't. He'd already surpassed that deadline where he could, when he tried to.
So if he's innocent and he didn't do it, why didn't he turn over his DNA?
Because the state has no right to your DNA unless you're convicted.
Yeah,
unless
you don't
they
have an
proof.
answer. That's why.
Yeah, no,
You don't have an answer.
they shouldn't just be able to
don't
draw
have an
anybody's
answer.
DNA on hearsay.
Listen. Yeah. Well, I mean, I would think that if it was going to cost him $83 million, that he would probably want to turn that over to stop the lawsuit, if he didn't do it. But the reality is he did do it. He didn't turn over his DNA because he knows he did it and he knows it was going to match. That's why he fought it so hard.
No,
Facts over feelings, bud.
No, I don't believe.
Can you give me a reasonable answer that someone falsely accused would not have turned over their DNA?
They don't have the right to your
Legitimate
DNA. What do you
reason. Not a right. Why someone would refuse to turn it over if it could exonerate them.
Why?
Yeah,
it's
you
your
don't
job
have
to
one.
prove- in the
Nobody
court of
does.
law,
Nobody
it's the
does because the answer is
prosecutor's job
obvious.
to prove guilt.
Yeah, I know.
No,
It's not. There's no prosecutor in this case. There's no prosecutor in
There
this
was
case.
no DNA.
See, you see what's happening? Listen,
No, they
you
would've
are
took him
trying
criminal.
to bend
They would've
over
took him
back.
criminal
You
with
were.
Sean, stop.
Can you stop? You are bending over backwards trying to make that logic that you have make sense, but the reality is it doesn't, because he did it. And that's the obvious answer, right? It's what's called Occam's razor. It's what's called Occam's razor. What's the most likely? The most likely scenario, the one that makes the least amount of assumptions is almost always the one that's correct. You don't have to make any assumptions other than Donald Trump did it and he didn't want his DNA to match. In your assumptive case of whatever, you're making up assumptions left and right. You look like a boomerang.
I'm not making up assumptions left and right. First thing, why does it take 30 years to prosecute? Why is she coming 30 years later to begin with?
That's not. We're not talking about that right now.
Let's just say they had consensual
We're not
sex
talking
back
about.
then, and she wants money.
We're not talking about that right now. Donald Trump claims he didn't know her. So Donald Trump is claiming he never met her. He doesn't know her. And he's claimed that there would be no reason that his DNA is on there. So why did he refuse? And the answer is obvious. The answer, because the reason right now you're stuck, the reason right now that you're stuck is because you're trying to find, you're trying to find a reasonable reason that Donald Trump would have refused to do that. One that would save him $88 million. And there isn't one. You don't have one.
There's no
That's why
answer
you're
that
fumbling
makes
so
sense.
bad right now.
No, absolutely.
There's no answer that makes sense.
It's just hard for me to think that someone that's got that kind of money is at a lack of attention from women, that he's got to essay somebody.
He has 30 assault allegations. What do you mean? His own ex-wife accused him of doing it. He bragged about it in an audio tape with Billy Bush.
You talking about when he said grab him by the pussy?
Language? Can you watch your language on my live?
Obviously, we're talking about
grab him by the kitty. Is that what you're talking about?
Obviously.
That's worse.
Okay, so in a locker room, men don't talk like that when they're bunks men?
This wasn't a locker room.
No!
It was just two dudes talking.
I have worked in construction for a lot of years, and I have heard some really vile sexual things, and none of it ever, at any point, reached someone getting essayed. Ever.
I just start grabbing them, kissing.
He said they'd like... And I imagine some of the women that he dealt with probably did enjoy that.
That's repulsive.
I'm not. You're a billionaire. You're a billionaire. I'm not here.
That was gross. That was so gross.
These are the protect the women people, you know.
Yeah. We gotta keep trans people.
Right. We gotta defend
bathrooms.
women's spaces from
essayers.
What
was she wearing? And maybe they liked it.
Right. Maybe she wanted it.
Gross,
Why did she wait so long to report?
As a man, I'm disturbed by that guys think. Like, have respect, some dignity. It's wild. I don't get that logic, man. That's so wild to me. Like, the amount of women that have, not got justice, and it's because of men thinking like that,